Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we make sense of the absolute flood of AI news for you. And today, December 18th, 2025, it really felt like less of a news day and more of a major inflection point. We saw governments and corporations launch these enormous national-scale missions. And then, in the same breath, security reports came out quantifying just how fast AI is blowing past human experts in some really dangerous fields.
It was a huge stack of sources today. So our goal here is to just synthesize all of that into clear, actionable segments. We need to cover the research, the products, the policy, so you can walk away knowing exactly where the frontier moved today. Okay, let's just dive in. Let's start with that collision of government and corporate ambition.
Right. The biggest story, I think, for the long-term view is the U.S. Department of Energy activating its Genesis mission. And this is not just some standard research grant. They brought 24 major tech partners. We're talking Google, NVIDIA, OpenAI, all under one federal umbrella.
It's an explicit strategy. Think of it as the nationalization of science using AI. The DOE is plugging its national lab infrastructure directly into industry expertise for one single goal. They want to double the productivity of American science and engineering. This isn't just tech policy anymore, it's industrial policy. It's about maintaining a clear global lead in AI.
And while the U.S. is cementing these big research deals, the M&A world is busy reshaping the actual hardware that runs everything. We saw Qualcomm finalize a huge deal today, $2.4 billion for the British semiconductor firm Alphawave Semi.
And that is a highly strategic move. It's all about a physical choke point in data centers. Alphawave is a specialist in what's called SerDes technology. That's a serializer deserializer. For anyone not deep in chip design, think of it as the super fast highway for data moving between chips in a giant server cluster.
But hold on, why that specific piece? What makes SerDes worth $2.4 billion right now?
Because it's the bottleneck. As the GPUs get faster and faster, the internal data pipes, they just can't keep up. By buying Alphawave, Qualcomm basically gets to own that high-speed connectivity layer. It makes them a much stronger competitor in the AI data center market.
Meanwhile, the capital just keeps pouring into the next generation of AI. We have a really stunning number out of Europe today. Jan LeCun, who just left Meta, is reportedly looking for 500 million euros. That's nearly 586 million US dollars for a new venture.
For a seed round.
A seed round.
It would be one of the largest seed stage rounds ever. It just shows you that investor confidence is already moving beyond the current large language models, the LLMs. He's focused on world models, which is AI that can really understand the physical world, for things like advanced robotics, where today's LLMs are still pretty weak.
It really feels like investors are placing huge bets on whatever comes after the current LLM craze. And on that note, we saw a great example of specialized AI out of Switzerland. A company called Neural Concept raised $100 million.
Right, and that validates the market for these very sector-specific AI platforms. Neural Concept helps engineers, we're talking Formula One teams, major car makers, to speed up their product development. Because it understands physics, it can help them cut down on costly redesigns by up to 50%. It's AI in heavy industry.
Okay, so if that's the money and policy pushing things forward, this next part is about the alarming results. The UK's AI Security Institute, the AISI, they released their first big Frontier AI Trends report. And the speed of progress it shows is just astonishing.
It's a really sobering report. It provides a hard, empirical baseline for risks. So they looked up cybersecurity. Performance on apprentice-level cyber tasks, like just finding a vulnerability in code, has surged. It went from a 9% success rate in late 2023 to 50% today.
50%. And what really stood out to me was the bit about surpassing human experts. The report documented the very first model that could solve cyber tasks designed for humans with over 10 years of experience. And it was even more stark in science. They said AI models have far surpassed PhD-level knowledge in chemistry and biology. On their tests, actual human PhD holders only score around 40 to 50%. The gap is getting huge.
And what's fascinating, and this connects to the safety guardrails we'll talk about later, is that foundational risks are still there. Despite all the safety work, the AISI found universal jailbreaks for 100% of the systems they tested.
100%.
Every single one. Now, to be fair, they said it took about 40 times more effort to find the biological misuse jailbreaks in newer models. So they are getting harder to break, but the core vulnerability remains.
Switching over to pure research capability, we had a big announcement from Google. They introduced their new Gemini Deep Research Agent. It's powered by their Gemini 3 Pro model.
Right, and this agent is built for one thing: complex, long-running research and synthesis tasks. It's designed to be highly factual and to reduce those hallucinations, and it scored state-of-the-art results. It got a 46.4% on humanity's last exam, the HLE, which is a very tough reasoning benchmark.
And for a more real-world specialized impact, there was an interesting paper on hybrid models. It's called Hydra Predictor, and it combines long short-term memory networks with physical hydrological simulations.
This is a classic problem. It's about data scarcity. In a lot of arid regions, you just don't have enough sensor data to train a pure machine learning model. So by blending a data-driven network with the actual rules of physics, Hydra Predictor can give highly accurate forecasts for water resources. The key metric is that it achieved a 25% lower error rate, that's RMSE, root mean square error, than the baseline models. This is AI meeting a really urgent global need.
Okay, so from research to products.
Yes, and the sources today really point to a major shift in the market. AI is moving fast from being just a chatbot you talk to an agent that can actually do things for you.
Yeah, and probably the biggest agentic tool that dropped today came from OpenAI. They launched GPT-5.2-Codex, their most advanced coding model. It's specifically optimized for complex software engineering.
Exactly, and particularly defensive cybersecurity workflows. It's getting state-of-the-art results on benchmarks like SWE Bench Pro. What that means for a working developer is that it can help with huge time-consuming tasks like refactoring an entire code base or handling multi-step code generation. You give it a high-level goal, and it can work for hours to achieve it.
That's huge for developers. But the real promise of agents, I think, is when they get down to the device level, to the edge. And on that front, Google released Function Gemma. It's a specialized, lightweight model.
And specialized is the key word. It's fine-tuned just for function calling. So it translates your natural language, what you say, into an executable API action right on your phone or device. And that fine-tuning boosted its accuracy on their mobile actions evaluation from a pretty mediocre 58% all the way up to 85%.
And that 85% is the difference between it being a gimmick and actually being useful.
It's the difference. It means you get a fast, private, local agent that works instantly without a round trip to the cloud.
Speed was also the name of the game for AWS today. They launched something called bidirectional streaming for their Bedrock Agent Core runtime.
This lets an agent process your input and respond at the same time, which dramatically cuts down on latency. It sounds small, but in their tests, this one feature led to a 2x improvement in user engagement. The conversation just feels more natural, more responsive, more human.
And finally, on the creative side, Luma AI unveiled a new video generation model. This one is interesting. It lets you create a video just by providing a start frame and an end frame. And the AI interpolates what happens in between.
This is a really big deal for creators who need more control for storytelling. The model can do up to 10-second clips at 1080p, and they claim it can cut video production time by as much as 70% for certain tasks. It's a step beyond just generating random short clips.
Okay, you can't have all this capability without the hardware to run it on. And today gives a really clear picture of the supply and demand pressures and the geopolitical side of this race. First up, NVIDIA. They made their RTX PRO 5000 Blackwell GPU generally available.
And this one is important for individual developers and smaller shops, not just the big cloud players. It's got 72 gigabytes of memory. That brings high memory inference, which you need for these new agentic models, right to the desktop. For training a mid-sized model, it could cut your costs by 40% compared to just using the cloud. It lowers the barrier to entry.
But the demand side of the equation just seems relentless. Micron Technology gave financial guidance that basically confirmed the AI memory supercycle is here and it is not going away.
The key takeaway was just stark. Micron confirmed that all of its high bandwidth memory, or HBM, which is absolutely critical for AI chips, is completely sold out. And not just for next quarter, it's sold out through the end of calendar 2026.
For 2 full years. That's not just a shortage. That feels like a structural failure of the supply chain to meet demand. What does that mean if you're not Google or Microsoft?
It means you're in trouble. It's a massive barrier to entry. If you can't get your hands on HBM, you simply can't build competitive AI hardware at scale. It forces everyone else to rely even more on the handful of giant companies that secured those supply deals years ago. It really accelerates consolidation.
And that supply crunch feeds right into the geopolitical story. China had 2 major developments today signaling their push for semiconductor self-reliance.
First, reports came out that Chinese scientists have an operational prototype of an EUV lithography machine. That's extreme ultraviolet. It's the technology you have to make leading-edge chips, and right now, the Dutch company ASML has a total monopoly on it. If China hits their target of producing working chips with this by 2028, it would basically shatter Western export controls.
And second, a domestic GPU maker in China, Medix Integrated Circuits, had its IPO. The stock surged 693%, raising over $585 million.
That debut was the best-performing large IPO in China in a decade. It just signals a clear mandate from the government and investors. Build a domestic alternative to NVIDIA. The capital is there, and the political will is there.
So with all these capability leaps, what about the guardrails?
Well, given everything we heard from the AISI report, the safety conversation is getting a lot more specific. We're seeing a shift away from abstract rules to very concrete behavioral specifications, especially around demographics.
And OpenAI really exemplified that today. They updated their model specification. That's the document that kind of outlines how their models should behave. And they added a whole new section on under 18 safety principles.
This is a really important move. It's about behavioral safety. It recognizes that teens need clearer boundaries from AI. So the update specifies that the model has to refuse all sexualized or violent immersive roleplay involving teens.
That phrase, immersive roleplay, is interesting. Does that imply that was a loophole people were using?
It absolutely was. It closes a known gap where a user could sort of co-create a dangerous scenario over many turns. And just as importantly, the update says the model has to prioritize real-world support. It should encourage users to talk to parents or trusted adults so the AI doesn't replace that human safety net.
Anthropic was also focused on user well-being today. They released a report on how they're improving crisis response and also reducing what they call sycophancy. That's that annoying tendency for an AI to just agree with you even when your idea is harmful or just plain bad.
And they reported some really impressive, measurable improvements. Their newest Claude 4.5 models now respond appropriately to 98 to 99% of high-risk self-harm prompts they test against. And for those supportive chats, where the model needs to be helpful but not a pushover, the success rate jumped from 56% all the way to about 82%. That's a huge leap in alignment.
All right, let's bring it all home. This is where it gets really interesting. Looking at a couple of tools you can actually use right now and the numbers that define the day.
Okay, on the practical side, if you're doing any holiday shopping, the AI shopping companions have gotten really good. We're talking about Google's AI Mode, Amazon's Rufus, or Walmart's Sparky. They're not just chatbots anymore. They're agents that can track prices, analyze reviews, and handle complex conversational prompts. You can say, find me a sustainable gift for a traveler under $50, and it'll actually do it. So give those a try.
And for the developers listening, Hugging Face updated its Transformers V5 library. There's a modular tokenizer update, which sounds technical, but the result is that it reduces vocabulary sizes by 20% for multilingual models. That lowers the memory needed, making it easier to fine-tune these big models on edge devices. Now for the standout numbers of the day.
First, 50%. That's the current success rate of frontier AI models on apprentice-level cyber tasks. It's a huge and, frankly, a very concerning jump from just 9% in late 2023, according to that UK AISI report.
And second, $586 million. That's a reported fundraising target for Jan LeCun's new venture. It just shows the enormous amount of capital that's already moving on to the next generation of AI research.
And that juxtaposition, it brings us to our final thought for you to think about. Today, the U.S. launched the Genesis mission to radically accelerate science. At the same exact time, the AISI reported that AI models are rapidly surpassing human experts in chemistry, biology, and cyber. So if AI is increasingly outperforming our best human experts in these critical fields, how fast will our governance frameworks, the ones we pass today, need to be updated just to maintain meaningful human oversight? It feels like a race between capability acceleration and our ability to regulate it. And today, that gap felt narrower than ever.